That redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lead Different podcast. Today's guest is Tim Cosby. He is a distinguished leadership expert and the president and CEO of Real Retention, Culture Impact Incorporated, and Empowerment Coaching Network International Incorporated. He has a passion for transforming workplace culture. He helps organizations cultivate collaborative environments that drive employee engagement, reduce turnover, and enhance productivity. For over a decade, Tim has partnered with CEOs and HR leaders to implement conversational management, a groundbreaking framework that shifts companies from traditional command and control leadership to a more empowering, trust-based model. This transformation fosters higher retention, deeper employee fulfillment, and a stronger organizational culture. He believes that high turnover and disengagement are not inevitable. Organizations that embrace new communication and collaboration strategies can create workplaces where employees thrive, contribute, and stay long-term, resulting in sustained growth and measurable ROI. So without any further ado, let me bring on our friend and your new friend, Tim Cosby. Tim Cosby, welcome to the Lead Different podcast. How are you?
Thanks, Dan. I'm doing well.
I'm so glad to have you here. You know, we're both enjoying a hot mug of coffee, and Tim just told me that he is using something called an Ember mug, which he bragged is the best gift he's ever gotten. And so now I'm going to be, and probably most of you guys are going to be looking on online for where that Ember mug comes from. But Tim, how long did you say you've had that mug in your hands today, and it's still 140 degrees?
Well, yeah, I've had it for over an hour, and I just got it for Christmas from my wife. And I don't get paid by Ember to do this. I should, but if I'd have known you were going to do that, I would have kind of set up some sort of a deal with them. But it keeps your coffee hot, and it's awesome.
Well, you know, with our millions of viewers, Tim, Ember stock is going to hit an all-time high. You know, I was sharing my logo mug with our Lead Different podcast logo on it, and we've got our company name on it. And then Tim just impressed me with his amazing Ember mug. But you're not here to listen or learn about coffee mugs. I want to tell you guys about Tim Cosby because, you know, as glowing an introduction as I just gave him, here's what Tim does really well. And I've got a chance as going through his training. I've been through conversational management. It made a difference immediately for me. I will tell you, Tim, going through your conversational management course made an impact on my business immediately. It led to better quality conversations with the people that work on my team. I have 3 people on my team that led to better conversations with them. It leads to better conversations with my coaching clients. And it has made a tremendous improvement in my sales process because it allows me to have conversations that add value to clients and are client focused. So thank you so much for that. So I want to let you guys know that Tim is not here just as a guest. He's here as a colleague. We work together. We've got a program we're doing together. Tim is a fellow YOS certified coach. So that's how we met. I brought him into the Y universe, and then he's brought me into his universe, which has benefited me greatly. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. The other thing I'll ask you guys, don't forget, you know, I brag that we have millions of listeners, and I guess if we convert it from U.S. currency to rupees, we would have millions. But if you like this show, you're going to get a lot of value out of today. If you get value out of today, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment and share this with your friends. We're going to be here every week talking about ways to lead different. And the reason Tim is here is this is a way to lead differently then everybody's already doing it. Now, the name of the podcast is Lead Different, but it is about leading differently. We're going to use the correct English when possible. So Tim, tell me, tell us a little bit of background. How did you end up with this amazing program that you've created that you've now been using for over 10 years? What led you to say, you know what, there's got to be a better way for people to have conversations?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for asking that, and just good to be with you today. I started out my career 45 years ago in kind of volunteer organizations, kind of a thing. I served as actually a dean of spiritual formation at a university for about 10 years. And then I've actually been a pastor for a good portion of my career. I've just always wanted to help people and help people change. And in 2010, I stepped into, started a coaching business. And I think it was out of that experience that I realized for the first time what coaching was. I thought I knew what it was, but evidently I didn't. And I just thought that coaching was the most effective way to help people develop into better leaders. So out of that experience, I met a guy who actually I'd hired as a business coach, and we worked together for a while. And he said, hey, what would you think of us kind of partnering together, and let's develop a training that we can start taking into organizations to train people in this coaching methodology, because most leaders just don't know how to do this. So that was in 2010. And out of that experience, we were asked to come to a college and start their Center for Empowerment Coaching, they called it. And we were there for about 4 years and worked inside that university and trained students, faculty, and staff in this coaching methodology. And it was out of that experience that leaders started coming to us saying, hey, could you come to my company and train my managers how to do this, because this is how they need to interact with people. So out of that experience, we developed conversational management, and we just said, let's take the core skills and process of coaching and apply it to management. Right. And that's where we came up with conversational management.
You know, one of the things that you do in the courses, and by the way, there's something I want to make sure everybody that's listening knows. Tim does test drives every single month. So what that is a way for you to experience conversational management, and it is a genius idea. If you decide to come take a test drive, I think you'll learn a lot from it. I gained so much just from the test drive, and everybody that I send to him does. So Tim, those are which day of the month?
Well, if you go to culture-impact.com and click on our header there on test drives, you can see all of our current test drives and find the link to register. It's free, culture-impact.com.
Fabulous. Thank you. And we'll put that in the show notes, and we'll make sure you guys have access to it. But one of the great things about those test drives is, and this is genius, Tim. Again, I learn so much from you every time I have a conversation with you. It's a genius way to introduce people to your process and your system, and it's a time investment. They're 2 hours at least, right, Tim?
Yes.
So you're going to invest 2 hours to learn, but you're going to get so much value out of it. I have clients that I've sent just because I want them to experience what I take people through, and then they notice it in my questioning, right? They say, hey, you're doing what we did in the test drive. Well, of course, I'm a graduate of the course. I'm going to use that. But then they start using it with their clients, whether or not they could continue further and get additional training. Your clients are big corporate clients that are wanting to include this in their company, in their leadership training. So my clients are small to mid-size startup CEOs. And so I haven't found you yet, that big client, that Fortune 100, but I will, Tim, and I will definitely send them to you, because this is so valuable. So you started, I love this story. You started with your coach. This was your coach, and then he came to you with a business idea, and then you guys were able to develop it and test it in a university environment. and then leaders started coming to you. How many, I mean, I've seen your website, but for those that don't know, you've worked with some big names. Tell us about a big success story, you know, one that we're going to dig our teeth into and say, ooh, that sounds like a lot of fun. That would have been a great client to work with. One where you feel like you made a big impact.
Yeah. I think right out of the gate in 2017, when we developed conversational management, one of the first companies that contacted us was a national transportation company. You've probably seen their trucks on the road, called Holland Freight. And they had, at the time, they had about 8,000 employees around the world as a global company. And they were experiencing 60% turnover rate among their terminal managers. So they had about 60 terminals around the United States, and 60% turnover rate among those terminal managers. And it was costing them about $10 million a year. I mean, just do the math there. It was just unsustainable. And they had tried several things to kind of remedy that. They hadn't really found anything that had worked. And a friend of mine was already consulting with them in another area and referred us to them. That's how we get most of our clients, and said, hey, you need to sit down and at least talk to Tim and see what he might be able to do for you. So we did that, made a presentation to their president and 12 VPs from across the United States. And then they said, yeah, this sounds good. So we took them through, actually, we took them through a 2-day training, which at the time, this was way before COVID, but was an amazing experience. And after that experience, all these VPs just said, okay, well, I see the power of this now. We got to roll this out. So over the next 12 months, we rolled it out to about 175 managers and other employees throughout the company. And at the end of 12 months, we did they did actually a turnover assessment, and realized that their turnover rate among the terminal managers had gone from 60% to 19% in 12 months. And we figured, by their numbers, we figured that we had helped to save them about $3.2 million in the year's time. And that's when I just said, you know, this really works. So I did the training around the United States back when we used to do live trainings with, 60 of their terminal managers. These are, truck drivers, and I just thought, some of this stuff, they're just going to laugh me right out of the room. But actually their response was just about opposite of what I expected, because they said, all right, we're having some real issues. We don't really know how to deal with them. We've tried certain things. This makes sense to us because we never learned how to do this. And it was out of that experience that I just said, okay, we've really got something here. This really works.
I love what you're saying, because if you're a coach, and I know that a lot of our audience is, how many times have you run into someone who, they're a high performer, and you talk about this in your introduction, Tim, when you sit on your course, you have a leader who is a high performer, whether they're probably a great truck driver, and so they got promoted to terminal manager, right? But guess what? We forgot one step. We didn't give them any leadership training between being a truck driver and becoming a terminal manager, and now they're in charge of X amount of truck drivers who are probably very important for a transportation company. And if we don't get them leadership training, if we don't get them conversational management training, if we don't give them the tools in order to manage better, they're going to do it the best. They're going to do the best that they can. And that leads to numbers like a 60% turnover rate, which you guys with your training were able to reduce down to about 20%, $3.2 million in savings. That pretty much almost covers your fee, right, Tim?
Yeah, pretty close.
Pretty close.
We figured that was about a 2,200% return on investment for them.
That is fantastic. When you look at those numbers, and I love that you did that, because one of the challenges we have as coaches is trying to show somebody what the value is of working with you, of doing your program versus doing something else. And when you look at that upfront price, it always seems like, oh, my business is struggling. I've got 60% turnover. Do I want to spend X amount of dollars before I fix that? Or do I spend that and see that as an investment? So I'm sure you were able to present that in a way that allowed them to see the value of the investment, which you're really good at. And one of the things I want to make sure I bring up, Tim, is your YOS, because looking at, and again, coaches and consultants and fellow YOS coaches that are listening, this is going to make so much sense to you. So Tim's why is contribute. He wants to make a difference. His how is clarify. And his what is trust. He wants to build trust. So it made so much sense to me. And when I started, I've now sat in on quite a few training sessions with Tim, especially going through the Certified Professional Empowerment Coach training that I recently completed. That was, I think, 18 weeks, was it, Tim?
Yeah.
So I was with you, and one of the things that Tim is a genius at, and those you experience Y coaches, you know what's coming. He is a great question asker. He is so good at asking really good questions, and the training really focuses on how to ask questions that lead the client to come up with their answers, lead the person being coached to come up with the answers to their challenges, or if you're a manager, lead to the person working for you to come up. But that comes from asking really good questions. And as a clarifier, I just knew Tim was going to be great at that. Not only is he great at that, he's built an entire business on his one superpower, or one of three superpowers, which is to seek clarity. So Tim, that's kind of my take on your why of contribute, your how of clarify, your what of trust. How does it, I'm sure you remember discovering it, and we went through your activation process, so we got to see how it came true to life for you. How's it made a difference for you to know that you want to make a difference in the world, you want to help people gain clarity, and that you want to build trust?
Yeah, good. Well, I think initially it was just very affirming to me. It actually helped to build confidence in what I already knew down inside, but couldn't put a name on it. And I think that's important, to be able to name something like that. I've always felt that I was kind of a good VP or second in command kind of a person. I've never really wanted to be the leader at the top. I'm better in a supporting role where I can contribute to the success of others. And I've always known that when others succeed, I succeed. And so that it helped me to just affirm that in me. I think it was also helpful to know and just put names on my how and my what, because I'd never done that before. This was really new to me, and so helpful. I've been a teacher and educator since college days, and clarity has always been a big part of teaching for me. I just didn't have a name for it. And then my what is trust, and people have always told me that they trusted me quickly, but I didn't realize it was such a big deal for me. And I think that works both ways, right? If I don't feel I can trust the other person, I'm not sure how strong that relationship is going to be. So my YOS just gave me clarity, and that's how I'm wired. It's been tremendous.
Yeah, and you use it, right? One of the things that, and you said something that coaches and people that I work with often tell me, this was something I knew about myself, but I never quite had the words for it. And so through the process of discovering your YOS, you now have a way to say to people, hey, look, if you come work with Tim Cosby, you're going to get someone that's going to be, that it's going to want to contribute to your success. It's going to do everything in my power. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you succeed, because your success is my success. And that is almost written. It's stamped on everything that you do at your company, Tim. I see it in the way you approach the people you work with. And then even in the opening introduction, when you talk to people about conversational management during your test drives. You can tell this is a person, and this is a company, this is a venture that is here to make a positive impact, here to make a difference. And so I think you do a great job of communicating that. The clarity part, you really see it. The attention to detail that you have in all of your presentations. All of us get certified in a lot of things. As coaches, it's kind of our thing, right? We chase the next shiny object. This, I will tell you, if you invest in Tim's program, you are going to come away with a very clear path forward. There's no question you'll have that isn't answered in the PowerPoints that you have access to, in the study guides that you have access to, or in the coaching materials that you'll get. Again, driven by your how of clarity. So clarity is very important. So Tim doesn't leave a lot of questions unanswered. And by the way, he's available to you. If you have questions, you can always give him a call. He's always makes himself available. And then, of course, the trust. And I think that's why you have built such a successful product and such a successful company, Tim, because you want to be a trusted source. So your stuff, your materials, everything that comes out of conversational management is built so that we'll create trust in the people with whom you work. So you've done a great job of that. How are you seeing it? Because you're a certified coach, so you also use the YOS in your coaching. How are you in implementing it into your coaching that you're doing?
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good question. Well, coaches come alongside others and contribute to their success. That's what they do. It's like this. It's not above and over. That word alongside, I think, is really key to a good coach. And I believe that my YOS affirmed that I have the heart of a coach. And I think people feel that. So it's helped me tremendously as a coach. Coaches also help people gain clarity. And that is my how. If people are still confused and things are not clear after a coaching conversation or relationship, then I haven't really served my client well. And coaches have to build trust. And so that coaching process is built on trust. And without trust, people won't come to you for coaching. So I think, I'm not sure how close my why, how, and what were in numerical values as they did the math there, but I feel that trust could easily be my why. I mean, it's really, really helpful for me. And we're using the YOS in our conversational management program. That's why I got certified in it, because I saw this as a companion kind of product and process to help managers gain greater self-awareness and greater awareness of others on their team and their clients. So I think that the YOS is great for employee-facing relationships between manager and employee, but it's also good, in client-facing relationships outside of the company. We have a program called the Premier Executive Leader Program that combines conversational management skills, but it kind of puts it in a format that busy executives can do it kind of on their own time. But we provide the YOS with that process, and it's leading actually right now to doing a team Y with the team of one of the executives that I've been working with. And Dan, you're actually going to be leading that team Y here in a couple weeks. So I think that the YOS has been a great tool to enhance our business, because it's such a good tool to combine with coaching. They really go hand in hand.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Thank you for that opportunity, by the way. So Tim, let's talk about that opportunity. You've got a client that hired you. You're working with them on conversational management. I can't wait for that workshop. It seems like a young group of executives that we're going to be working with. We've already gotten started getting their YOSs. They're starting to trickle in. And we're going to take them through that process. And it's interesting that as I shared with you the process that I take clients through in the team YOS, we talk about 5 things that we do. We talk about we want to make sure they're understand themselves. So then when we talk about the leader, we want the leader to understand themselves, have clarity on their why, how, and what. Second step is understanding their team. Do they have clarity on what drives everybody on their team? Because that's the second most important step. The third step is understanding each other. So it's great that the leader understands himself and understands everybody on the team. But when they understand each other, then they can really dig into each other's strengths. And then the final step that I take before letting him loose is understanding the leader. One of the feedbacks I kept getting back, Tim, from leaders was, you know what? I loved learning about my team. I love them learning about each other. You know what I really liked is they now understand me.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to talk to me. So if Tim's the leader of the team, they know that he cares about contributing to the success of others. They know that he cares about clarity, and they know that he cares about building trust. And there's so much that goes into being able to communicate with your leader better when you know those three key elements of what drives them. So it's know yourself, know your team, know each other, and then know your leader. And we threw the last step in there is no limits. And truly, a team that understands each other at that level of depth, they really understand each other. They really have clarity as to what drives everyone, and they communicate better. You'll probably take this to a completely different level, Tim, as you continue to use it with teams. And I can't wait to work with you as we make those breakthroughs, as you make those breakthroughs to provide people with even more clarity. So this team, tell us how you see it fitting in. So what have you done with this team already? And then what are next steps after Team YOS?
Yeah, well, the executive, the director of this organization, it's actually a place that provides a space for weddings and large business gatherings. It's actually an old mansion that a family purchased and totally refurbished, and it's probably the nicest building, within 20 miles of here. And so they do a lot of weddings. So the director of this organization came to me. She's young. She's probably not even 30 yet. She might be early 30s. And she wanted to go through conversational management, but she couldn't go through on our schedule because it meets a couple times a week for about a month or so and whatever. So she decided to do our Premier Executive Leader program. So as part of that, I took her through the YOS. And when she went through that, her first response was, wow, I never really knew this about myself. She's pretty young, so this was kind of her first time in doing something like this. And I just said, how valuable would it be right now for the other people on your team? She's got about 8 or 10 other people on her team. How valuable would it be for them to understand you like you understand you? And she's like, that would be great. So that's how this kind of worked out. I have not met the other people on her team, and you and I will meet them together when we do that YOS here in a couple of weeks. But I think what's going to happen after that is that she's going to see the value of this. She's really well connected. In fact, the owner of the organization that she's the director at is also a CEO at a global company, multi-million dollar company. And I think once he hears about this, he's going to say, hey, why don't you come to my company or my other company and take my leaders through this. So who knows where this is going to go? This could go around the world, Dan. You and I might just be traveling around the world now.
I can't think of anyone else I'd rather get on a round the world travel schedule with, Tim. I know we'd have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know what I really appreciate about this. So and let's talk about that dynamic that you were able to find is, and I see this all the time. And again, you helped me create a process for this. It is in the sales process that I take coaches through who are certified, whether it's YOS or any other certification. It's you got to get the leader to have that aha moment, right? When they have that aha moment, you asked a critical question. Again, a wonderful question. How valuable would it be for you to know this about everybody who works with you? and you're not going to get a good leader to say, oh no, I don't want to know this. Then 99 times out of 100, 9.9 out of 10, they're going to say this would be incredibly valuable.
Right.
So then it led to the next step, which for you was, hey, let's do this Team YOS. You've already learned, you've gone through one part of our program, but there's so much that you offer. And that's what I'd like to do next, Tim, is let's tell the audience, what is it? I mean, because there's so much to the offerings that you have. And if you can kind of list maybe bullet point and or just the title and then a bullet point of what you get out of that training. What are some of the offerings that you have that coaches out there that are looking to increase their skills, be better conversationalists? And one thing that I want to make sure you talk about is conversational selling, because I will tell those of you that are listening, my sales skills, and I've been in sales for 35 years, so I've been doing this for a long time. My sales conversations have gotten so much better since going through this program. So as I was talking to Tim in the pre-show, he also has something called conversational selling. So kind of give us a list of, hey, these are the certifications and courses that we have. And then of course, we'll have your website up in the show notes so people can reach you, but let us know a little bit about that, Tim.
Yeah, well, I'll give you even a bigger context, and Dan, you're part of this. We're developing and bringing on affiliates, basically just like YOS does, across the United States that already they're independent contractors. They already have a business. They already have a clientele. They're looking for another product line to sell and deliver, just like I was, and that's why I'm doing YOS. So what we do is once those the affiliates come on, then they get access to conversational management, which we've already described. We call that a program that helps managers move from boss to coach. It's really powerful. And then we have conversational collaboration that basically was requested from one of our clients who had taken about 120 of their managers through conversational management. And they said, hey, everybody in our organization needs to understand these skills because we're not collaborating very well. And if our employees really had the skills to collaborate, I think it would improve the effectiveness of our business and increase the bottom line. So we developed a program called Conversational Collaboration, which basically has the same skills and process as conversational management, but it's all put in the context of collaborating, not management. So there are people in your company that aren't necessarily managers, but they need these skills. So the program takes about half the amount of time, costs half the cost. You get it done a lot sooner, and it's a way to kind of spread conversational management and this methodology across your culture, and that's how you change your culture. So that's conversational collaboration. Then we have conversational selling. That also came from a request from a client who had gone through our conversational management program. He was the owner of the company, and he said, hey, I got 120 salespeople here and we're doing really, really well, but our salespeople don't know how to do this, and they've been through all sorts of training, but they don't know how to do this. So could you train my sales team to do this? So we developed conversational selling. And again, it's the same skills and process, asking open-ended questions, reflective listening, kind of goal setting. Really, we call it helping people to change without telling them what to do. So it's asking and listening. It's not telling. And I think salespeople really need to learn how to do that. So conversational selling is the same skills, but in the context of helping the buyer move to a place where they want to buy your product. And so it's built on asking better questions, listening better, and making sure there's a good fit between what you're selling and what the person wants. So those are, and I mentioned Premier Executive Leader Program. That's for high executives in a program or in a company that may not have the kind of time to go through one of our regular cohorts, but they could go through this hybrid program and go through all the skills of conversational management kind of on their own pace, and then they get one-on-one executive coaching from us. So it's a higher level program, but it helps executive leaders really learn these skills. Those are really our four primary programs.
Yeah, and I can see where this can really transform a culture and a company if everyone in leadership is utilizing these skills. because it gets rid of that, and I think, I have a different YOS than Tim. We're both fellow contributors, but I'm a challenger and make sense. And make sense, especially people with the Y of make sense, anywhere in their top 3 were problem solvers. And we do the one thing that Tim teaches you how to undo. And that is when somebody comes to you with a problem, you want to give them a solution. Here, let me fix it, right? I know what you need to do. And instead, you give us the skills to really empower our direct reports to solve that problem by asking questions. And this is really fascinating. One of the things you talk about, and you probably have this stat, is that 90% of the time when somebody comes to you with a problem, they have a solution that they would like to try. But they're coming to you because they may not be confident. You haven't empowered them to implement that solution, so they don't feel like they can do that. But just asking some good clarifying questions can help them figure out, hey, this is the solution I wanted. And it oftentimes is better than the one that we'd come up with, because we're not involved in the day-to-day of that employee or that manager's or that leader's world. Would you agree with that, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and I think another thing, and I just kind of thought of it here as you were talking, you guys call YOS the operating system, and we call conversational management kind of the operating system to really become a better manager. And I think that's why the YOS is such a good fit for us, because we deal with operating systems that are way down here, kind of on the foundation of things. So I always say conversational management is another app that you add to your phone. It's the actual operating system that is going to make all of your apps work better. And I think the YOS does the same kind of thing. So it's a really, really good fit for us.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great way to look at it. I think if you look at conversational management, that is the operating system for how you conduct conversations. Yeah. And the YOS is the operating system for what motivates and drives everybody on your team. Yeah. So if you have everybody talking using the same rules, but also understanding each other at a deeper level, you're just taking something and 10xing it. You're really adding a superpower to it. And I think that's what these two programs do for each other. And like I said, that's why I'm so excited about this partnership that Why Not Leadership has with conversational management, Dan Dominguez has with Tim Cosby. Plus, you're a great friend. You're a guy that I get value with. There's a leadership expert, I think it's Jim Rohn, says you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I always enjoy working with people who bring up my average, right? I want to work with people who are better than me, because that brings up my average. Now I understand that at some point I'm going to have to be the top guy so I can help other people bring up their average. But that doesn't happen as often as I get an opportunity to work with someone as gifted and as talented as Tim, who knows so much and has so much to offer and has already made such a difference over a very long career, and then has been successfully coaching for over 10 years. Everybody listening who's a coach understands that it's an uphill struggle, especially those first few years. Tim has helped me cut out probably at least 2 years of frustration from that journey, and getting into some much better conversations with the right clients, with the right fit. So Tim, I always ask everybody this question, and I'm going to ask you this. Tell us about your why not moment. Our company is called Why Not Leadership. We're built on finding leaders who are ready to say why not to trying something different, something new, and changing their culture, changing the way they look at each other. What's a why not moment for you? A time in your life that you said why not to something, and if you look on our podcast page, we talk about why not moments as at the end of our life, we don't regret the things we did. We regret the things we didn't do. Right. And I read a book that talked about the top 5 regrets of the dying, and it was always about things they didn't do. So think of a time, whether it's career, personal, or even, we'll leave it open to you. A time you said, why not? And you're so glad you did, because if you hadn't said why not to that, it worked out really well. And tell us about it, because I guarantee you there's a listener out there that's having a why not moment right now, maybe having that specific conversation with themselves, and we want to show them someone who said why not, and it's worked out really well for them. So tell us about that for a minute, Tim.
Yeah, well, I graduated from college in 1976, and I had a really good career. It's basically on salary my whole life, and didn't really have to worry about finances. And 15 years ago, I just felt like I was being challenged to step into something new that I didn't fully understand, but it was basically I was going to step into being an entrepreneur, starting a business, which I'd never done before, and that was pretty scary at the time. I didn't really know how to do it, but I had really good people around me that taught me and invited me in to the process. I think if I would have well, I can't even imagine what life would be like if I wouldn't have made that move, because since then we've impacted the lives of thousands and thousands of leaders around the world, actually, because we do training internationally. And I've learned how to coach, and I did not know how to coach. I was a good leader. I was a good dad, good husband, had built good relationships. I did not know how to coach, and that has changed my life. And I wish I would have known how to do that when I first started raising our kids, many, many years ago, because I think it would have just helped me to be a better parent. I'm so glad that I did this, because I had no idea the contribution that I was going to make in society. And we're into the workplace, and we're trying to make a difference in the world by really making a difference in the workplace, making better leaders in the workplace. And it's just been so fulfilling, and every day is just kind of a new part of the journey. And I'm so glad that I answered with a yes to that invitation.
That is a fabulous why not moment. So 15 years ago, and so just to recap, your why not moment was saying yes to starting this new business,
Yeah.
going from being a salaried employee for decades and having a pretty good making a good living, being able to raise a family. You've got adult children and grandkids now, right, Tim?
I've got 4 kids and 8 grandkids.
Yeah, so you're a grandpa and you're still going strong, still making an impact. I still see your impact multiplying, Tim,
Mm.
From what you're talking about and from what I've learned so far. And it could be, and I think it's because you're open to learning. You know,
Mm.
you are not somebody that said, Dan, I've got a system and I know how to make leaders better already. You said, hey, tell me more. And then you
Mm.
learned about the YOS, and now you've been open to how to expand it and use it even further. So that is so if you're out there and I want to, I'm talking to you coaches right now. If you're out there and you're at that, that probably 45, 50-year-old self, and you're thinking, man, I've got 5 years from the pension, which I was 7 years from the pension at my company when I decided to go out on my own. And you're wondering, is it going to work? I'm here to tell you, Tim is a success story you want to look at, because he took that opportunity and he's absolutely made hay with it. And I can't wait to see what other impact you have, Tim, on even more people around the world. You've already impacted thousands and thousands of people. I'll say this before we go. This has impacted me personally in a very positive way. You talked about it, Tim. We all think we're pretty good husbands, pretty good fathers, and pretty good brothers and sons, and all those things. The skills I've learned going through your program have impacted my relationships in a positive way. My date nights with my wife are so much better because I now ask questions and I'm ready to listen actively and ask additional questions so that we get real clarity. So those are great additional benefits to this training. And I don't know if you have a family conversational management for families, but there's yet another offering that I think would be fantastic for you to offer. I think families would benefit tremendously, especially the mother and father going through this, because guess what? As a mother and father, you're the leaders of your clan. You're leading that little corporation called Cosby Incorporated, right?
Yeah.
And the better job you can do of listening to your kids. I've got a 13-year-old that right now needs a lot of listening, right? I need to do a much better job of listening than jumping in and solving things. And this has made such a difference for us. So Tim, I want to commend you on a tremendous program that just makes a difference for people immediately upon first contact. And so how can somebody get a hold of Tim Cosby? What's the best way to get a hold of you? If somebody's interested in conversational management, getting certified, becoming one of the affiliates like I'm doing, or just bringing you into their companies.
Yeah. Well, you can go to our website, culture-impact.com, and there's a contact page there. You could email me at tim@culture-impact.com. You could call me at 616-443-9190, and any of those ways, or you could just get a hold of Dan and he'll put you in touch with me.
Those are all great ways. Tim, I love how open you are. You know, I hope your inbox fills up after this interview, because this is, again, I think it's life-changing, it's company-changing, it's culture-changing. So I'm looking forward, like I said, to airing this interview and sharing it with the Why Not Nation and with all our Why Not champions across the world, so that more people can take advantage of your tremendous offering. Tim, this has been a fantastic interview. What do you say we end the show on that note?
Hey, why not?
Thank you so much, Tim. Guys, don't forget to hit the like. Don't forget to ring that bell so that you can get all our updates. We're going to put this podcast. We're going to have some video clips. You've already probably seen a few of them that we've put out throughout the week. We are always looking for new followers, new comments. Tell us what you thought about. Tell us what you learned today, and let your friends know about the Lead Different podcast, so we can help even more people lead different through the power of self-awareness. Have a great rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week on the Lead Different podcast.
This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change